we're talking about the monetary impacts and everything. Let's talk about right now. I don't know if these numbers are true. So let me just put that out there. But we can debate, you're close to this than I am, which is one of the many reasons why I like to have you on the show. So let's talk about the economic impact, Prime's time, and no pun intended, and Jackson. He bought $30 million to the city of Jackson, Mississippi.
That's quite possibly true.
$9 million to this past year's homecoming. $4 million for the Boombox class, excuse me. We already know about recruiting, the #1 recruiting class in HBCU history. Signed the first 5-star recruit to an HBCU in HBCU history. He did that. Most number of quality prospects to commit to HBCUs in history in 2021. He put HBCUs on the map nationally. Yeah. Okay, let's stop there. Okay. Let's focus there for a minute. So, yes, people have been knowing about HBCUs. Obviously, the Celebration Bowl was long before Prime came along. We know that, but have we experienced the national?
I think I know where you're going with this, Scott.
And the national level of interest in HBCUs for the past like 2 years and change that Prime has been there. Have we experienced that before?
No, we have not. Yeah. No, that I cannot disagree with.
Okay.
But it's like convenient amnesia that a lot of people seem to be having now, that a lot of this stuff wasn't happening beforehand. Now, has it been to this level? Most definitely not. This is it's evolution. It's most definitely evolution. And Deion Sanders is most definitely one of those that can create that type of change, right? But to say that, he was the one to do it, no, but he was the first to put it on that level. Most definitely. I am not, going to disagree with that at all. And I know there are a lot of people like, D-Nash, stop being a semantics man and over there pulling hairs over there on which one. Okay, yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that at all. No, because of course, everywhere you saw Prime over the past 2.5 years, you saw him with Jackson State stuff on, most definitely, and everyone knew what that was easily. Yeah,
and I don't have the number, the exact dollar amount from like apparel sponsorships, if you will, from Under Armour. But I think, did you say last week that Jackson State was one of maybe a handful, if not one of a small handful of schools on the FCS and FBS and Power 5 level that had like several, like the amount of different jersey combinations and helmet combinations.
Oh, the uniform combinations? They were second to Oregon.
There you go.
And we know why Oregon is #1.
Yeah, because Phil Knight. That's Phil Knight's alma mater. Yeah. Nike land. So of course they're going to get the cherry, but yeah, I mean, have we seen that let alone an HBCU, a well-known apparel brand? This ain't British Knights, right? This is freaking Under Armour doing this. He came. Yeah. They had a video of him of Plank, Kevin Plank. That's the name. The CEO and founder of Under Armour. They had him on campus. Show a video of him on campus talking to the football team.
Yeah.
And just not giving up, but just showing the different jerseys and the shoes, the gear. That does not happen without Coach Prime.
It doesn't. No.
I mean, it just doesn't. So I agree with you on this. I wish the train would last a lot longer. The train would last a lot longer than it did, because you figure Prime was going to have this pick of the litter of Power 5 like opportunities.
Most definitely.
Yeah, that's my only gripe. Not really gripe, but that was my only thing I could wish for, was to see this journey going a bit long. Because I would have loved to see him disrupt college football on the FBS level and the Power 5 and the Power 5 in the FBS. I would have loved to see him disrupt a lot of those big programs. Yeah. I would have loved to see Skip Bayless, to this point, just credit Simmons. I would have loved to see him cut a deal with and I'm probably mentioned this last week, with with the head coach at Ole Miss.
With
What's his
Lane
name?
Kiffin.
Lane Kiffin. I would love to see him cut a deal with Lane Kiffin to say, we don't have to have a home and home. We'll go to you every year or whatever, and just kick his ass. I would love to see him do cut the same type of deal with Mississippi State and Mike Leach. And prayers up to Mike Leach. He's in the hospital after suffering a massive heart attack. So prayers up to him. But I would love to see him cut a deal with Mike Leach and say, hey, we'll play your Bulldogs down in Starkville. You only have to come up to Jackson and kick their ass. So I mean, I would have loved to see him do the same with Southern Miss, and maybe Troy University in Alabama. You know what I mean? Just the Sun Belt schools and then whatnot, and of course the in-state SEC schools. Even though that may sound like a little bit fancy, but it's possible because he was getting that kind of athlete, just to be the ultimate disruptor.
Now, in order for that though to happen, Scott, that most definitely would have taken some time in order for him to go ahead.
And at least 7-8 years. At
most
least.
definitely, because he said numerous times, he was going to have to get the dogs in the trenches, the offensive lineman and the defensive lineman, in order for him to compete on that level. But the thing is, everyone loves to talk about the on the field product.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing that I'm concerned about, though, is the off the field stuff, especially as it pertains to the money.
Do tell.
Right? Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of things that I wish he would have done. A lot of things he even spoke out on that I wish he would have kind of furthered the conversation on that probably most definitely would have addressed a lot of that stuff and a lot of those issues. Primarily, the amount of money that the state institutions, the state HBCUs, are owed by their respective states.
Yes.
The
Lord.
problem is that, the likes of the university presidents can't talk about that stuff because they are hired by that exact same state, right?
Right, the system.
But the coach can talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you have a guy like Deion Sanders that talks about something like that, E.F. Hutton, as soon as he say it, everybody else is going to start wondering, oh my God, what's going on with state HBCUs? And it just becomes this whole movement to help these institutions get the monies that they're owed. Because a lot, the discrepancy between, I'm not even talking about HBCUs and FBS programs. When you talk about their counterparts on the FCS level and the amount of money that they get in terms of state funding and government funding versus the HBCUs, it's in the millions easily. And that's a lot of the reason why these HBCUs are pigeon-held. If they were to go ahead and have the same type of state funding, that would be wonderful, right? And then, of course, if they can go ahead and garner the media rights contracts, which, of course, the SWAC is already better than everyone else on the FCS level right now.
Right, yes,
you have that along with the state money, that will be extremely beneficial for these programs to go ahead and turn themselves around. But there are a lot of these broteps, a lot of these hoteps out here that are claiming or who believe that the reason why Deion was hired away from Colorado was because he was probably getting a little too close to that and felt as though that he needed to be pulled away from Jackson State before that happened.
Yeah, we won't talk about the hoteps. But and you mentioned the TV deals. I don't know how true this is, so please feel free to debunk and do so and not be shy about it. I mean, again, ESPN TV deal with SWAC is said to be $120 million over 10 years. I don't know how true that is.
That's not true at all, Scott. Those numbers just sound extremely familiar. 10-year, $120 million. That is most definitely the Byron Allen HBCU Go contract number.
There you go.
Yes. So so that's where that number comes in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. Again, short-term memory, or maybe Bama's just wasn't watching. Shame on you for not watching. But the relationship that ESPN has had with HBCUs goes back a period of time. Now, I don't know the exact date, but as far as I can go back off the top of my head, it's at least 2005 when ESPN used to do the weekly Thursday night games with HBCUs and they would feature MEAC and SWAC programs on alternating weeks. And then it went from that one game a week to a Thursday and a Saturday to 2 games on Saturday where they would have the day game be the MEAC and the night game be the SWAC. And then it grew to a couple of games during the week. And then, of course, ESPN Plus and ESPN3 happened. And they started adding more and more games via streaming. And it's gotten to a point now with ESPN where they have multiple SEAC, MEAC, and SWAC games all on their family of networks. And this was all things that were set in motion years before Coach Prime got there.
Right.
For whatever reason, people tend to forget that just a few seasons ago, North Carolina A&T was that flavor of the month for ESPN, where they would get those prime Thursday games, where they would get those prime Saturday games, when A&T would have like 2, 3, and maybe even 4 night games during the season because they were the it school. It's not new that Jackson State is doing the same thing because they are the it school. Right. So that's why when people are like, yeah, we get it. Yeah, I get it. It's your time. We'll see how many, primetime games you get this upcoming season. But the thing is, it happens in seasons for the team that people want to watch. We'll have to figure out who that school is going to be. Maybe it'll be Florida A&M. Maybe it'll be Southern next year. Chances are it'll be someone within the SWAC. But yeah, like I said, it rotates, or it has been rotating if you pay attention. But yeah, this thing, like I said before, it is not new. This ESPN deal is not new. And like I've said on this show years before, but I'm gonna go ahead and repeat it again because I'm name dropping here. Yeah, John Skipper. I had a conversation with Skipper back in 2016, the former president of ESPN, about the advancement of HBCU athletics on his family of networks. This was before streaming really started popping off and becoming a thing, where he wanted to expand the amount of games that they were broadcasting, and wanted to do so with all 4 HBCU conferences. But of course, for whatever reason, all 4 didn't buy in. They have their reasons. I'm not going to begrudge them or fully credit them for doing so. But again, that HBCU Go deal has most definitely been beneficial to the SWAC. The relationship that the CIAA also has with HBCU Go and with Bounce TV has most definitely been beneficial for them as well. And it'll reap more benefits once with the basketball season that's ongoing right now, when you start to have more broadcasts there too. So yeah, all of this stuff has been going on outside of Deion Sanders. And then of course that HBCU Go football agreement, there were no Jackson State games on HBCU Go. So that's something else we do think about as well. But yeah, that 12-10, that was HBCU Go and Byron Allen, not ESPN.
All right, man, let's close out this Coach Prime some of this. We're going to probably talk more about this next week. But there's some, I want you to, you were going to teach some things last week, and I heard probably a lot the same. There's been some undercurrents of what may have led to his departure behind the scenes. I want you to go into that right quick so you can close this segment on this show tonight on Deion Sanders.
Yeah, so there was a report that was bubbling. It started to come out that Sunday before we did our show last week. And I kind of touched on it, but I know that we went over in time, so we didn't have enough time to really talk about it then. But since then, it's most definitely started to flood out, and it came along with the information that you just talked about in terms of a lot of the things that that kind of soiled the relationship between Coach Prime, the president there at Jackson State, and of course the athletics director, Ashley Robinson, also at Jackson State. Seemed to be some sort of lack of unity that was going on there between those 3 entities. But these are some of the claims that came from out of Coach Sanders' camp. None of the Celebration Bowl money went to the football team. They were not holding JSU employees accountable for doing their jobs. Now, if you paid attention to the 60 Minutes piece that he did, he talked about how, the landscapers was supposed to mow the lawn once a week, every Thursday. He said, sometimes it wouldn't be done. And he would be out there mowing the lawn because he wanted things done a certain way. And so that was him kind of hinting that, hey, I'm going to need y'all to do what y'all supposed to do so that I can do what I need to do. And I don't have to worry about this. All I have to do is worry about football.
Right.
And I get that, and I don't begrudge him for that too. Hey, do your damn job.
Right.
And if it was something as little as cutting the grass, what bigger things weren't being done by the staffers at Jackson State that probably was getting under his skin? Another topic matter that came up: ticket sales money went missing. He basically signed an agreement with his contract that said that when ticket sales went over 30,000 for a stadium that seats over 60,000, that he would get he would get 10% of the game day ticket sales revenue. He claimed that he didn't receive that money since the spring 2021 season. And then there was also conversations that the university president was undercutting the deals that Sanders established, and that as a last-ditch effort to try to keep Sanders at Jackson State after he had already been offered several opportunities to go elsewhere, that JSU decided to offer him $1 million to get him to stay.
That wasn't going to keep him there, because $1 million compared to what we know of at Colorado, at the University of Colorado, what, $5 million?
Yes.
That doesn't compute. The math ain't math.
No, it's not. It's not. Now, the thing is all of this true? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I just find it to be a little messy, but a lot of times that's how divorces are, right? It's a little messy.
I agree.
And, it seems as though that there are a lot of people, and another reason why people feelings are hurt, who feel as though that he used HBCUs to get the job at Colorado. Like we talked about before, he interviewed with the likes of Arkansas and Florida State. They told him that, he interviewed well, but they didn't feel as though that he was qualified enough. But at the same time, he didn't have his collegiate degree. And you need your degree in order to be a head coach. So what did he do? He went to Tougaloo and HBCU to get his degree so he could ultimately get a job. And the only place that was offering him a job at the time was another HBCU, Jackson State. Yep. Now, in order for him to at least get an opportunity elsewhere, he was going to have to prove himself at Jackson State. So he did, and that's why he ended up moving up to Colorado. And that's why a lot of people believe that he used HBCUs on that path. Sure. I will in turn flip it around and say, well, Jackson State used him for exposure too.
Of course they did. Look how much exposure they got. They had freaking ESPN College Game Day built by the Home Depot at Jackson State.
Yeah.
Well, not technically on campus because the state football stadium is not on campus, but still, they were at a SWAC event with a lot of people there, celebrities coming to the locker room, Snoop Dogg to name one of many. That doesn't happen without Coach Prime, yo.
It doesn't. Well, I'll say it rarely happens without Coach Prime, because I don't want to talk about the school in Greensboro that's been doing it with the likes of Sam Washington and Rob Broadway. But it's not about A&T right now. We're talking about Jackson State and Deion Sanders. So, I knew it was a troubled marriage from the get-go, that both sides would be using each other. The question is, who used who more? I'll let people debate that. I have my feelings on who used who more, but the thing is, both parties were used, but Jackson State was the dumpy in this instance, and that's why they're the scorned lover. So I get it. I understand it, but my God, to call this dude a sellout is a little egregious, but I understand why you're upset.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. Well said, brother. Well said. We'll close the show out on this, man. I want to give a quick shout. I'll be remiss if I didn't give a quick shout out to Brittany Griner for being brought home where she belongs. Right.
Most definitely.
I mean, what, a 9 or 10 month being away for that period of time for what was done. Um, we all knew it was a political stunt by one Vladimir Putin, president of Russia. Um, but even though months later she was brought home due to exchange, a reluctant exchange for convicted arms dealer Victor Bout. We served 10 years out of 25-year federal prison sentence in the United States. I know they want to bring Paul Whelan home as well, who's I think he was a diplomat. He was arrested for espionage in Moscow in 2018. Even though they're still working on that, and the family for the Paul Whelan family, props to them for saying, "Hey, look, we're not mad at Grant being able to come home. We just keep hope alive, so to speak." So they're happy for her, and I'm glad that the family put that statement out. I'm just glad. I just hope that she's okay mentally, because we all know what the type of hell she went through. But the bigger part of this to me is the lack of, outside of the WNBA and the fans and her fans and everything else, and mostly Black sports journalists. I'm more upset at the school that she made great, Baylor University, and I'm more upset at that woman who used to coach her at Baylor, who used Brittany Griner's talents to garner an undefeated season, at least one national championship, and a big ass contract at LSU. The name escapes me right now, and I know it's on the tip of my tongue, but I talked about it earlier, like during the weekend. That's where my disgust lies. Because when someone asked her about Brittany Griner, like, paraphrase, and the reporter asked her, "Do you have anything to say about Brittany? Do you have any statements? I know you want to give a statement about Brittany Griner, if you want to or not." And she said, and I quote, "And you won't. You will not get a response from me." How bit of messed up is that? And I want to say something harsh. But I want to get this show monetized. So how messed up is that?
Yeah.
That's what we talked about in past podcasts. You see what they really think of you?
Yeah.
You see what they really, 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 really think of you? And because, and I won't belabor the point, but basically one of the things that this coach did, Malky, was that Coach Malky was that she lied to Brittany Griner when Brittany Griner said, because she was out as a gay woman before she went to college. She's like, "Will me being LGBTQ," and I'm paraphrasing, "will me being gay be a problem?" Reportedly, the coach lied to her and said no, when in fact it was a problem for her. And while she was at Baylor, she was getting pushed back by people in the university or whatever, she did little, Coach Malky did little to defend her. And they're strained to this day. And it's probably going to be even more strained to the point of being beyond repair, given that what Coach Malky said in response when Brittany Griner was still detained in Russia, in jail in Russia, but she's back home now. And I hope that she gets the help that she needs. Apparently that she talked to people on the plane, on the flight back, and like and hooping right now in the like as far as like I don't want to say rehabilitation or whatever, but still, I'm happy that Brittany Griner is home. I'm happy that people in the WNBA were calling for her release. I'm still happy about the Black sports journalists, mostly Black sports journalists, who called on President Biden to do something to bring her home. And I'm just glad that this whole deal is on. Now, whether she recovers from this, how long it will take her to mentally recover, that's another story. I just wish the best for her wife, and her family.
Agreed. But Scott, before we go, I have to say this. I almost completely forgot about this. Earlier today, I was listening to a radio station, to a radio program, I'm not going to say the name of the program because
Sure.
I don't want to make any bald-headed people upset.
Sure.
But there was a statement made on the show about why is it that HBCUs are out here asking celebrities for money. You should already know that HBCUs are in a particular plight, which is why they are looking for funding and looking for as much help as they possibly can.
Right.
Now, I know there are some celebrities that are willing. Shout out to Charles Barkley that just donated another $1 million
Yes.
to HBCUs this
He's the
past
man.
week. Yeah.
Thank you, Charles Barkley.
And to the the Durant Foundation, which is of course led by Kevin Durant and his mom, that just gave $500,000 to Bowie State's athletics department as well. But I know it's not for all celebrities to go ahead and do so financially, right? Because
Sure.
I know you don't want to get in nobody's pocket.
Right.
But I'll say this, the same thing that I normally say to HBCU alums and fans alike. There's a way for you to give back without necessarily giving back of your dollars. And I understand that time is also money to some people. But
Yeah.
hey, if you're willing to give of your time and your knowledge to help out HBCUs so that they can advance themselves, especially from my perspective for the athletics departments, where if you can go in, celebrities, and share your knowledge on how you get sponsorship deals so that they can get improved ones for their programs. Talk about how a lot of the atrocities that are happening, like I said before, about the states not giving up the monies to the institutions that they need to. If they can be that conduit of vocalizing that message to the public, because again, as much as the media says it, people will listen.
Right.
But you know, it won't be in mass. But if you get a celebrity to say it, especially ones that'll in the same breath say that they love HBCUs or respect what HBCUs are doing, and all you have to do is say, hey, state of Mississippi, go ahead, give up the money that you're supposed to give to Alcorn State, Mississippi Valley State, and the Jackson State and the other HBCUs within the state. Hey, state of Tennessee, stop fronting on Tennessee State, give them their dough. And the same thing for state of Ohio. Well, I don't know if Ohio owes them, but North Carolina, your state institutions that you owe money to,
yes,
give them their money.
A&T and Central, yes, especially.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So when you start to give of yourself in ways that doesn't take a lot for you to do, that will be of great benefit to HBCUs that doesn't necessarily always have to be fiscal. So those are ways for you to go ahead and help out that way. If you need other ways, you can always reach me on my social media handles. That's at the Yard HBCU on all social media. And I'll most definitely give you ways in which you can give back without having to give back an actual dollar. I'm here to help out players, most definitely.
And remember and I'll say this one thing, like I said in the coach show, to your point. Remember when the governor of Mississippi came down to Jackson? Well, he is in Jackson, obviously, this capital of Mississippi, but came to campus and had a joint conference with Deion about wanting to build a new stadium and things, trying to keep him in the state.
Yeah.
That's an impact. That's to your point. He's like, okay, what's up with the water? What's up, all this. Notice how quick the governor of Mississippi came?
Oh, that's the other thing too, right? So I'm not going to completely lay all of this on Deion, though, because of course the news media did a wonderful job of putting it out there. But that water issue has been a water issue for some time now.
Right.
From what I'm hearing, at least 30 years. But now they're just starting to listen.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not putting that all on Prime. I'm going to put a little bit on Prime. But yeah, and the state of Mississippi most definitely owes a debt of gratitude to those that most definitely helped out in that situation. But yeah, there were a lot of people that listened to it that probably wouldn't have listened to it before because of Coach Sanders.
Where can they find you on Twitter and other means of social media? So
You can find me at the Yard HBCU, all social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And you most definitely want to do so this week, because if you didn't know, this is Celebration Bowl week where Jackson State will be facing off against North Carolina Central. I know that, Deion has moved on to Colorado, but there is still a football game that will be played that he will still be coaching in. And I will be heading to Atlanta in a few days to cover said game. And I most definitely will be doing live spots on Instagram with the media access that I'll have, along with access to practices, and of course giving a preview or pregame that Saturday morning as well. So yeah, most definitely follow me on social media if you want access from my perspective on this year's Celebration Bowl.
And also, please see to check them out. I mentioned the links before, theyarhbcu.com, it's on this backdrop, herosports.com. Those links will be in the description under this video. So you have no excuse not to check them out, and it's great work. And also, please do like, comment, share, and subscribe. You'll be glad you did. I'll be glad you did. Check me out at www.theklowntimes.net and get the merch at kevinpress.com. Search for the Klown Times Sports. Again, those links, along with his links, are underneath this description. Like on YouTube underneath this video. So thank y'all for tuning into this podcast. Take care. Keep hope alive, all the good stuff, and stay warm. It's gonna be a cold one this week. Take care. Peace out.